After losing a libel case and being fined, Mikael takes a job investigating the 40-year-old disappearance of a teenager.
This is Harriet. Someone in the family murdered Harriet.
As he teams up with Lisbeth, a computer hacker, they discover a series of murders related to the missing girl.
Was it spontaneous? Was it calculated? Did she know something someone wished she didn't?
With their own lives suddenly threatened, they race to catch the serial killer in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. We've all just seen it. Salim, why don't you start?
Sure. This was a rousing success for David Fincher. Now, the Swedish one was more of a TV movie. For the most part, most of the Swedish movies are kind of TV movies, and they don't really do a lot of theatrical stuff. But in this one, it really has the time to delve deep into the book.
And what's interesting is that the movie is very faithful to the book in this way. When I read the book, the first few chapters were so boring, I actually put the book down. And a friend of mine said, no, you have to keep reading. It really does get much better.
So as someone who has neither read the book,
which I have,
or seen the Swedish version of the film, I was really looking for a wow factor, especially since we're doing a Hollywood version of this movie when the Swedish version was released here, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was fairly
2009.
recent.
And I think that there is this kind of structural dissonance that happens with jumping
completely
back and forth. There's this intercutting of their two separate lives that happens in the first half of the film.
You know, the tone was all over the place. It wants to be a mystery. It wants to be a thriller.
There was some funny parts to it.
Yeah,
and you can hear the audience chuckling.
But at the biggest part of it was that it was like watching a procedural,
Right, it was
watching
a good
clues.
old-fashioned crime procedural.
Exactly.
You're right.
And what's so interesting about these two characters is that it's a mystery with new age detectives.
Very new age, though.
Exactly.
But you know what? I really dig that. It felt very contemporary and very modern, and it didn't have a whole lot of sentimentality. It just felt like, let's get in there and let's mix it up with these characters.
Those are from her. And the rest from her killer.
Who knows about this?
There's me, the police, the killer. And now you.
I love Daniel Craig because the original Swedish version, the guy that they had to play he just was not leading material. I think that is the big difference between the Swedish version and this one, was how they came at the character of Lisbeth Salander. In the Swedish version, she was brooding, but you saw the pain in her face. Whereas in this one, she seemed more disconnected.
Right, she just
And
doesn't
see,
care.
I feel that that's indicative of all of the performances. I think that there's a detachment that we feel from all of the characters. And the risk that you run with doing that is that people don't invest. They don't care.
Exactly.
In the novel, they have far more time to elaborate on. So,
right. And what's interesting is that in the novel, they do elaborate, and in the movie, I was getting confused, and then I actually had to wind my brain back to the novel to go, okay, I got it.
Right. Well, for
guys,
someone who hasn't read the book and someone who hasn't seen the Swedish version,
it can be confusing.
The film really needs to stand on its own.
Yeah.
So they can.
Bingo.
So they have these passing references to Nazis. Right. So what quicker way, what easier way to peg someone as a villain is to just refer to them as Nazis.
Right.
Right. As opposed to really getting into the subtext of what that means about Swedish society, who during World War II. You know, they
aided and abetted.
They aided and abetted. They were collaborators with the Nazis, right?
Right.
And so the Stieg Larsson, who wrote the trilogy, was very concerned about Nazis living in contemporary Sweden.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get any of that.
No, I think that David Fincher did a great job of creating atmosphere and mood. We really do feel like we're in this frigid, cold town, right? In Sweden. Right, and it's a murder mystery. So, and it's a 40-year-old murder mystery. And and it's bleak. So he sets that, and the production design and the cinematography all add to the value of the ambiance of what this movie put forward. You guys agree with me?
No,
on
I
that?
agree completely. I love that he takes the camera and just brings it everywhere, you know? And I think it works particularly well in a movie like this because of the location, because of how expansive it is on this small island.
Without being too overly laudatory.
Right.
I believe that David Fincher is an extremely talented filmmaker.
Absolutely.
Because David Fincher is really good at understanding how he can expand the limitations of the camera and uses all of the various elements of cinema, filmmaking, with composition and lighting and costuming and using color to depict flashbacks and
music.
present and music and the appropriateness of that music.
Right, Trent Reznor's soundtrack, which is
You're willing to
spectacular.
forgive many of the problems associated with the screenplay.
Hold it, are we willing to forgive?
I'm willing to forgive.
I'm willing to forgive.
I'm very willing to forgive.
Now,
just
you
because
mentioned
this is a David Fincher
It's
movie.
very much
At the end of the day, that's what it is.
So it looks like we've said all we can say about this movie, and this was a really interesting movie, if nothing else. It really provoked our emotions. So let's take it to a vote. Grab your tickets.
Even though the Swedish version had a better Lisbeth, this version was a rousing visual success with some great performances. See it.
This is a flawed murder mystery, but David Fincher's visceral directing and great acting makes it a see it.
Well, despite a frustratingly fragmented screenplay and some schizophrenic editing, David Fincher has nevertheless delivered a stylish whodunit, and it's entertaining, and so I'm going to say see it.
All right, that's 3 tickets, which is a see it for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. All right, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.